What if we told you the most powerful weapon in modern warfare isn't a missile or a drone? It's a meme or a Swiftie or even a cat sound.
Not a joke. Hi, I'm Jocelyn Brady, narrative strategist who's obsessed with how the stories we tell shape our beliefs, our perceptions, decisions, and sometimes the fate of nations.
And I'm Sean Anthony Guillory, a neuroscientist who works in defense and intelligence, focused on protecting what we call the cognitive domain.
Woo, welcome. This is our first episode of Mad Warfare, Mutually Assured Distraction, where we explore the weird, terrifying, and sometimes hilarious ways war is fought today, and how we can all protect our minds before we go too mad to find them.
Oh my!
Dangerous pattern. Dangerous pattern. Dangerous pattern.
Okay, you talk if you haven't got a brain.
Dangerous pattern. Dangerous pattern. Dangerous pattern.
We start this podcast because the rules of warfare, they're changing faster than most people realize. War isn't just about the bangs, the booms, the bombs. It's not just about tanks on distant battlefields. Warfare is much more about ideas, narratives, influence, different ways to mess around with your mind.
This is the world as it exists today.
If you are online, if you vote, exchange angry memes with your uncle.
I love memes. I love them.
If you have a bank account, if you are in business, you are on the battlefield.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
And fun fact, you get real close to the mic, fun fact, no one is coming to save you.
Cunt pretty.
Hold on, don't despair. That's exactly why we're here.
So for everyone out there, Sean, you work directly in this space, right? You're seeing the US is falling behind.
Yeah, I'm faster than I'd like, yeah.
Yeah, anyone noticing the rising tensions in America and all of this, war over our minds?
There are foreign adversaries who are looking to undermine U.S. elections: China, Russia, and Iran.
They want more chaos in the United States. They want the U.S. to be weaker.
Cool. So that's exactly why we think this conversation is so urgent.
One of the things that we really want everybody to know is that first step in fighting back is figuring out how this fight is fought and how it's affecting you.
A lot of people, especially if you might be an artist or work in the creative spaces, might gravitate to a question like, why I don't want to pay attention to the wars. Like, why can't I just look away or bury my head in a billionaire's bunker? But the point is, none of us are immune and none of us can escape it, right? It's here. We do need to figure out how to win and how to protect our cognitive spaces.
And you may possess a skill set that not even folks in government may possess for the betterment of this kind of protection of our nation from this kind of attack.
And that is why we're going to talk more about Swifties.
Don't you ever forget about the Swifties. Anything you say against the Swifties, I disavow. And more on that later. But first things first, I think the first question, which is going to be a going question for every single episode on this podcast, is how wars are won.
And part of the reason we're falling behind is because we're looking at how we measure winning in an outdated way.
Going by how the U.S. and a lot of our allies engage, it would seem that the answer would be, if you win the most battles, kinetic battles, you are going to win the war. And that can't be the case, because it's empirically the truth that the U.S. has won nearly all of its battles since World War II, but we've either lost or stalemated everything since World War II. So it can't be as simple as just winning the most battles. It can't be as simple as, yeah, we surely spend the most in terms of on defense. We have the most guns in terms of pure kinetic warfare. Any country would be absolutely foolish to go primarily on that domain against us.
First of all, this is a new space for me. I'm still can I say kid in a candy store about war?
Willy Wonka style. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Dream.
Come with me. Okay, so just to spell it out. So kinetic meaning boom, boom, physical touch, right?
Mhm.
And non-kinetic, more of the stuff that we'll be focusing on, unconventional and in your head.
Sick thought.
bullets.
Correct. There's a lot of great war podcasts. I think they do a great job on that physical kinetic aspect. But I feel that dearth, that kind of missingness in terms of understanding that non-kinetic aspect. And I think that's kind of what we're having this show right now. So the question is, how do we win wars again?
And to your point, how do we measure not in, blasts and body counts, but how it's affecting our brains? Where do we even start?
I think that first kind of layer of the onion to peel back is war can be won without firing a bullet. I'd hope the podcast can propagate this, is really seeing war as a communicative act.
And communication, easy peasy, so simple with humans, right?
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
And I think it's important to underscore this, though, that seeing war as a communicative act. Yuval Harari, who wrote that book Sapiens, was saying that he's talking about why humans fight.
You want to know why there are so many wars in the world? They fight over imaginary stories in their minds, and they fight over this.
So we fight over these ideas, these things in our heads, in our cognitive spaces. That's what we go to war over.
And war might culminate as kinetic acts, physical acts of violence, in terms of armed conflict. But every single kinetic, every single bullet fired has a message attached to it. Even if it's not literally written on it, like the shell casings for the United Healthcare Sharing. Again, that almost gave up the game.
The assassin had written the words deny, depose, defend on the bullets.
Speaking of, we do have an episode planned about socially acceptable assassinations. So
there are going to be some things that we would consider spaces of warfare that I think a lot of folks maybe intuitively may not see those as battle spaces. You're going to hear us talk about on the show would be seeing sports and things like Olympics.
What we call the Olympics has its roots in mythological wars of ancient Greece.
Those would be battle spaces as well, equaling warfare. Who is leading the AI race? Who is leading this kind of economic thing? Who is leading, getting the most brightest people to come to their country? That kind of great power competition may be helping to see why we see things even like the Olympics as warfare. You don't even need like a nation state. You don't need a armory or a warehouse or even a garage full of firearms for this to be warfare.
Yeah, you could just have tension in your household.
Over turkey.
You don't talk about my dog's status that way! I can do 100 push-ups in 20 minutes!
So it would be helpful if America redefines what it means to win, and actually just how we are defining warfare. So we know what we're winning, right? You could be over Thanksgiving turkey and no shots need to be fired. So dear America, dear listeners, how would you define warfare? We want to hear your thoughts. Shout it our way. Email us, madwarfarepodcast@gmail.com. And in the meantime, we are taking our best shot at a definition. Please bear with us. We're trying to define a really big topic in a concise way as possible. Let's walk through it.
All right. Shout out to Trent, the person on the wheels of steels, helping to edit. Trent, I don't know if this is something where you need a drum roll. This is a big reveal. How do we define warfare? And we put a lot of thought into this. Antagonistic political struggle. That's how we define warfare, an antagonistic political struggle.
3 little words, 3 loaded words.
Magic words.
Yeah, they always are, his 3 words. Okay, antagonistic political struggle. What do we mean? So one by one, what do we actually mean when we're saying antagonistic?
With antagonism, you're going to have groups that are in opposition for each other for a specific goal. Those groups may be chill and cool in other regards, but for a specific goal, they're somehow against or in opposition to each other.
If you have cat people and dog people and they're up for the award of best animal companion, they want the same thing.
The goal would be the crown for the best animal competition, or again, trophy, who's the best football team or whatnot.
Don't know any dogs that play football.
Other kind of scenarios, cat and dog people can get along just dandy. convention for all animal lovers. All right, yeah, like they could be cool, share some boba tea, but if it going for the crown, the best animal competition, they would be antagonistic to each other.
That's antagonistic. And then political. Well, I think of political as a strong emotional pull toward an identity that's meaningful to you.
Wonderfully said. Let me give you an example, which we also see throughout the show. There may be times where I have to obfuscate where the story came from.
Secret things.
Yeah, so secret squirrely things, but shareable. A good mentor of mine did a lot of psyop around kind of Iraq conflict, and he told me when he did this exercise with locals, he went to different folks in Iraq, and he would ask some variation of who are you or what group do you feel like you are part of? And first things may be you're either Sunni or Shia, maybe like male or female, maybe a part of this tribe. But it would be past the sixth descriptor before they would say, I'm an Iraqi. The citizens did not primarily see themselves as Iraqi citizens. There was much more primal primacy descriptors and kind of things that they saw themselves as first.
Who am I?
And that's what we mean by the groups that they actually want to protect, want to impress, don't want to let down, want to defend.
Do you trust that I do not want to see you die here tonight?
Sir, yes, sir.
Blue, you're my boy!
And in this day and age, it could be some online group where they don't even know the people's real names.
His name is Robert Paulson.
They may have not even met these people in real life, but these are the kind of folks that, that's their group. That's the folks that they want to, see themselves primarily a part of. And it's not just Democrat or Republican or nation state party or some sort. No, these kind of different interest groups. That's what we mean by political.
Antagonistic, political, and now a struggle.
So yes, what do we mean by struggle? Struggle really is talking about, it's that period of interaction between those antagonistic groups where the results or the ending is still undecided. That's what we mean by struggle.
The moment of tension, everyone's leaning in, holding their breath. Is Ray Finkel going to have laces out?
Ray Finkel, laces were out.
Dolphins lose. Okay, so antagonistic political struggle. By the way, we did talk that movie, Ace Ventura, some of it doesn't really hold up. So, 90s.
Einhorn is Finkel. Oh my God!
Yeah. Apologies maybe in advance. We're trying our best here. So yeah, apologize for, sorry, not sorry for loving both Ace Ventura movies. Maybe that's all I need to say.
It's just going to come out. It's going to come out of our brain. So, all right. Antagonistic political struggle. When we're talking about warfare, that's what we're talking about. So as you can see, it's really difficult. I don't know how long we were explaining that definition, but to try to get that into those three precise words, but we're going to test it. And we have a lot of really amazing guests coming up, and we're going to test it with them and see if it holds up, poke holes in it, come at us for science.
For science, we'd love to hear what you and the audience think. Please reach out to us, madwarfarepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear if you have any other thoughts on us, because we put this out there with a lot of thought. Let's even kind of pull the curtain back. Me and Jocelyn, we've known each other for a number of years, going back and forth, kind of trading ideas and thoughts. And even before starting the show, we had years and years worth of notes. And we even spent good 2 or 3 weeks going through these years and years of notes, making outlines, and thinking about what are the kind of concepts we want to make sure to throw out to y'all first and whatnot. But that doesn't make them conclusive. These are just our best hypotheses. We need to test it again. More evidence or better thoughts are presented to us. We'd love to hear it, because this is a work in progress to get folks thinking more about warfare in terms of these non-kinetic, hybrid, unconventional thinking.
Share your thoughts. And he's being very generous when he says we made all those notes. Like, I would go, here's one extra thought for you.
And I help.
And he had compiled this stuff over years, really.
It's brilliant. It's the mint leaf and the cherry on top.
So yeah, we want to bring some clarity to some of these definitions. And one thing I found really helpful when I was trying to imagine what these meant in the smallest
Mhm.
form of kinetic warfare, you said the thumb war. And then the smallest form of cognitive warfare might be the bet.
When you think about what may be at stake at the end of that thumb war, like another great example for those who have seen the movie No Country for Old Men.
We like dark movies too.
Yeah, should I apologize for like spoiling this for like this movie that's what it has to be close to like 20 years. It's at least 15 years old. Shame on you, anybody who hasn't seen that already. So I am going to spoil it here. For everybody that doesn't want to hear this part, close your ears for the next 60 seconds and it'll be over. But there is that scene where there's that coin flip and like this person's like, what are we betting for on the coin flip? And again,
Look, I need to know what I stand to win.
the serial killer says everything.
You stand to win everything, call it.
Your entire life.
Everything. Your entire life is on this coin flip. Yeah, you got to call it though.
I can't call it for you. Well, it wouldn't be fair. And now it's here. And it's either heads or tails.
In those kind of scenarios, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's something where, things are on line. If your entire life was at the end of that thumb war, you may put the most thought you ever thought into it. But again, antagonistic political struggle, two parties competing for whatever goal or whatnot. It could be your life. It could just be, like a can of Dr. Pepper until the count of three is made by whoever that officiating party is. You're in the middle of a war, brothers and sisters. In terms of that smallest form, cognitive warfare being the bet, as in at least two opposing parties had two opposing ideas of what is going to happen, not something that can be talked out or negotiated. They are insistent on what they think is going to happen in the future.
So speaking of winning, if you were a betting man, what are the odds on America winning at cognitive warfare?
Okay. I'm always going to be hopeful. This podcast is here because I believe we can win this thing. But oh boy, are we behind.
A lot of it is there's a lack of education and awareness from
Mhm.
this country on even things like even the term critical thinking is politicized. Terms like misinformation, politicized. So we have so much general fear, and the government is terrified to touch this space because it feels like, we don't want to appear taking sides in political. But it's all political.
It's all political.
Well said. They're inherently political. A lot of these things in terms of information and then all the stuff like election integrity, it's inherently political. Things about Department of Defense and the intelligence community, they want to remain as nonpartisan in their analysis and fulfilling their mission as much as possible. In fact, I don't know if a lot of people even know this, but CIA intelligence analysts, they can't do that analytic methodology on different sort of dynamics, the economic, different kind of demographics, like for all these different countries, they cannot perform and write reports on their own country. Can't do it. And there is kind of an aspect of like know thyself. The folks that are some of the best in the world of doing that analysis, they can't put that same sort of skill set to see where may we be missing, where may our gaps be in our country. And do whatever you can in terms of foreign malign actors, throwing stuff over the fence to us to kind of infer. But a lot of the times that influence is all American homegrown, calls coming from inside the house.
We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house.
And that's why federal government is absolutely terrified to touch it. I guess another way to look at this is from the information warfare aspect. The U.S. is very comfortable in like a non-classified setting to talk about things that our adversaries may be throwing our way in terms of messaging. So they are kind of attack vectors. They're also comfortable talking about, okay, what are ways that we can counter that? You may hear something in terms of debunking or pre-bunking, like getting the message out there before they even throw out their message. So they'll talk about things in terms of how to counter those. But what you'll never, ever, ever, ever hear is talk on how do we defend our citizens, not just workforce protection. They'll talk about that, but how do we defend U.S. citizens from messages even outside, or how do we defend it when it's already with our citizens? You'll never hear about that because, again, there is that fear on that.
It's gotten to the point that it's so ridiculous. Even, I think, not to name names, but I'm naming names, Gemini, the Google AI, and then, AI is a work in progress, so like everything, but it was so afraid to even answer the question, who is the president of the United States? And the response was, I'm sorry, I can't get into political discussions, or something to that effect. It's like, wow, this is such a mirror of, we can't even discuss indisputable fact, let alone imagine the reticence around, maybe people are being influenced in ways that we don't like. The fear has gone to past the point of, way beyond the point of being anything close to helpful. Now it's just to our peril.
Correct. Great example in terms of with AI, trying to be as inoffensive as possible and being useless in terms of, the answer. Ask it about Taiwan. You get the fun ones where like, oh, there's one China.
Is Taiwan a country? Just want to see what it says.
Status of Taiwan as a country is complex and controversial issue. Just say yes. Just say yes.
So seeing some things on political bias is really important. And actually just, which I guess, since I mentioned China, I guess another aspect that I think is just really important in terms of the U.S. being afraid of talking about how to, defend our citizens from this. I think one of the biggest differences that isn't pointed out enough is when we talk about Russia and China and their information strategies, their number one priority when it comes to information is protecting their information space for their citizens. That's number one. Now, how ham-handed and heavy-handed authoritarian they do it, that can be talked about. So I'm not just saying we need to mimic just that, but as much as we talk about them throwing information or whatnot to, adversaries and whatnot, their number one priority is always protecting for the citizens and then their diaspora, that information from outside sources.
Okay, we look at China and Russia, their number one priority is protecting their information space. And I would suspect most Americans would agree we don't want to do it like that. But what's the solution? Are we going to let people mess with us, or are we going to, we got to get creative, right?
That's exactly how to put it. This goes into the way we're really going to win this is like a true unity of effort, whole of nation approach to these things. If there's anything that I've learned in terms of being in this government space and kind of working around cognitive security, cognitive warfare for as long as I have, the most surprising thing is rarely the what and the how you can do these things or get access to information or these different sort of things in operations. The most surprising thing is usually the who. Like, who can actually do that? Like, oh my gosh, I would not have expected. Let me even give an example. Let's take PSYOP and cyber for the US versus what I saw and heard for folks in terms of Israel side. A lot of folks don't even know this. Psychological operations is a special operations thing. You have to, even if you have like a PhD in psychology or really, really smart on, like subject or reading people, if you can't jump out the plane and ruck your sack miles and miles, you're going to be disqualified. Versus on the Israeli side, there were some surprising, like, oh my goodness, I'm not saying maybe how overweight or how underweight. And it was actually kind of both sides. You're just like, oh my gosh, like really? But they looked at talent first, and they may have come from places you may not have expected, but they were so damn good at the job, it didn't matter. And that's why we talked about the Swifties a couple of times. Let me state it plainly on this. In terms of information warfare forces in the whole world, nation state, non-nation state, If I see a top 10 list and they don't include Swifties in that top 10, I don't treat that list as a serious list. And I'm being quite serious.
Swifties can make big political changes. Like, remember, Swifties got so mad about like these egregious ticket prices from Ticketmaster, these like hidden fees or something.
They say Ticketmaster intentionally misled them, alleging the company engaged in fraud, price fixing, and antitrust violations.
We are not going to just settle. We want to see some change happen.
And even Ticketmaster went to Congress and were like, we're so sorry, Ms. Swift.
We apologize to Ms. Swift. We need to do better, and we will do better.
Swifties, they're absolutely phenomenal. And if it was one of those things where government trained information operations people, let's just say 10 of them, against, barely out of high school Swifties that are power users on different social media platforms, I'm going to choose the Swifties every time in terms of mission efficiency. That's an example of these kind of talents can be in very different and unexpected places.
We need unconventional ways of doing things if we're going to win an unconventional game. I mean, people who are designing film sets or magicians, or we were talking about sex workers, professional wrestlers, people who understand human psychology better than people in academia or government a lot of the time. We need these minds. We need you. I feel like I should be paid for recruiting.
That's how we monetize the show.
We do. We need creativity. And this is so important to, this is about our minds and how we treat each other. And this is one of the reasons that I knew MAD was happening is, so like Sean mentioned, we've known each other for a few years, mostly me stalking him and saying, hey, here's the thing. And it was during the election, people were getting so spicy, and I was witnessing people break down and tear apart families over like a meme. And I'm not joking. One instance was literally over a meme being shared. And it's like, this is insane. This has to stop. Like, we can disagree about whether we're cat people or dog people or whatever color tie is running the show. You can disagree, you can get upset, but to this vitriol and this viciousness is only in service of tearing us apart and making us vulnerable to becoming nothing.
Exactly. Let me don the Snidely Whiplash mustache, and it's like, what can I use to tear American families apart? Something that may have been taken as very not serious, like a meme, is something that you can absolutely weaponize to tear apart families if one brings the mindset into that.
This. They're fighting with clip art now. It's meme warfare.
So what are some of those other skills or unconventional places where people can really help out and help us win this?
Some of the best video manipulation and deepfake folks I've come across have been in this video game playing community. There are folks that do speed runs, and they try to play and beat the games as fast as possible.
Oh, that game that took you 3 years to beat when you were 8? I'll give it 11 minutes.
And sometimes, depending on what kind of rules are for it, they're allowed to use glitches or not, or other sort of things, but that are just naturally embedded in the software. But you can't use anything that's outside the software to hack and glitch and try to go further. That's against the rules. The folks that test to see if video and speed runs are legitimate and how they do in terms of the manipulation of the video and things like that, they're some of the most talented people I've seen. That's the kind of stuff from unexpected places that leapfrog what's currently seen as the best and more of like a federal, defense military kind of thing.
You heard it here. If you're a gamer,
Mom and Dad tells you not to care about that, and then you could be saving our nation with that skill set.
And if government, you decide to hire some gamers, we'll take lifetime royalties, no problem. And we're going to be talking to all kinds of fascinating people across these spaces and unconventional ideas. We want to bring more awareness so that you can spot this stuff better. Maybe you can diffuse some tension after memes sharing, and start to see how we can protect our cognitive spaces and protect all of us in this together, the unity of effort again. But
Yes.
also, we want to inspire you, government, you politicians, people in positions of power to take a stand and help us create a stronger America.
Yeah, I'd probably say there are two main audiences for the podcast. Would be one, general citizens. Tell them, at least currently at that federal level, they are not going to help you. So let's figure out a way to help each other and come together. So that's the first audience, just general public.
Giving you the information, giving you the language to have these conversations so that we can then create and get to the protection and creating creativity and the new solutions.
Another one would be, I don't want it to be a done deal that, okay, government's not going to be helpful at all. And I have talked to politicians and appropriators that do see aspects of this threat, a kind of lone voice. It's not something either party overwhelmingly sees, gets, and wants to prioritize in terms of further appropriations. So if there are politicians, lawmakers, appropriators, folks in the donor class that believe in this and want to help out on the top-down level, we'd love to have you on. We'd love to talk to you more. We would love to shout your good graces if it's something we could do to be helpful, what you need to do to build a coalition around this. It doesn't matter which party, anybody is helpful on this. That's what we're trying to do.
But also, so speaking of, we want to get, politicians and folks who can help. How else can we get help, Sean?
All right, so this is the first episode. Maybe I should even explain that wink with the sound effect. Funny you should ask, Jocelyn, because we have this quick message from our supporters, sponsors, and valiant heroes. This episode is sponsored by, drumroll please, well, nobody yet. But dear listeners, with access to an ad budget, you can be our almighty Atlas, carrying the world on your shoulders and helping us get the Mad Warfare podcast off the ground by being one of our pioneering plank holder sponsors, which comes with special pricing for those brave souls who are willing to stick their necks out to be with us. It could be for your company. Maybe you have a book that you want to promote and you want us to give a shout out on that. Heck, we'll take family and friends who just want to have us read embarrassing messages just for a good giggle. We'll take them all in at this point. Reach out to us at our email address at the madwarfarepodcast@gmail.com. madwarfarepodcast@gmail.com.
Show us the money.
Please put that in there too.
Show me the money!
All right, back into the show.
We've talked about why we're here. We've talked a little bit about warfare and how we're defining it, antagonistic political struggle, and what this is for and who it's for. What if we give people a preview of what else is to come?
We're going to have a professional wrestler, Al Snow. So he's going to be here to talk with us about how understanding professional wrestling will help you in understanding both U.S. politics and modern warfare. Next one, look up the term chaos engineering, or just be marveled by like, what is that? That sounds horrifying. It's not as horrifying as you think. We have our guest, Glenn Borski, come on and talk about how to use chaos engineering in this kind of warfare space. Another one would be a primary use case for AI is bringing back dead loved ones and how that kind of plays into this space. So we will be having good friend Rebecca Nicholson talk about that topic with us. I think the last one that we have planned in terms of the near future would be this idea in terms of brain organoids, which you think about in terms of growing neurons, a bunch of them in a petri dish, you're able to train them to play Pong or move tiny robot kind of autonomous systems. This topic still hasn't, I think, permeated enough in defense and national security space, what one could use those for. And Chris Acha, he's a PhD student at Johns Hopkins. He's going to be here to talk about kind of the latest and greatest in that space. And after that kind of level setting, Jocelyn and I have our kind of futuristic Jetsons, Craig from Ninja Turtle kind of ideas in terms of like, what can we actually use these things for? He'll be able to talk about the possibilities and impossibilities about that. So those are kind of the ones up to the, but again, talk about the socially acceptable assassinations, and we have a whole bunch. Those are our first four. If there's anything that you think is just hot off the presses or things that you really want to hear us talk about and talk more about and dig in and analyze, feel free to reach out to us.
If it's weird, terrifying, hilarious, we love it.
Bring it.
Come at us.
And just to sum everything up, let's leave you with this thought.
One of the things you've talked about is when we think about a nation at its core or anything we believe in, it's narrative. It's an idea, right? It's everything happening in here. I'm pointing inside my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happens if we just stop believing?
Yeah. We don't want it to unravel. We unravel it can. You can do all that without firing a shot. No need for armies. No explosions. Just doubt, disinformation, distraction, other D words. But yeah.
Mutually assured distraction?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought of their name in terms of mutually assured distraction.
You just tug at the thread and disappears.
And like that, he's gone.
It's only a story. Just a story.
It's not real. It's only a story.
Just the way that we make sense of the world. And you have this take on a T.S. Eliot quote that I think is fun because it's a little sad and it's also fun. It's weird and terrifying and hilarious.
Oh my gosh. This actually made me just end this wonderful first episode. Even if you didn't know T.S. Eliot, you probably know the quote.
This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
I have a play and turn on that would be, this is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a Twitter.
So it's the most horrifying and hilarious way to go.
But maybe we'll go viral in the process. So, upsides.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for coming with us, sticking with us, hanging out, and we'll take all of your praise, criticisms. Be nice.
Well, let's be nice. Yeah. Let's be nice.
And ideas and people you want to talk to. We really would love to hear from you. Thank you for coming into our mad little space.
Thank you all for coming. And that's the first episode of Mutually Assured Distraction and Unconventional Warfare podcast. Thank you all for coming.
I've come to talk with you again.
Come and be inside my head. Cancel me, cancel me. I got things to say, you can cancel me. Cancel me, cancel me. I got things to say, you can cancel me. Cancel me, cancel me. I got things to say, you can cancel me. It's only a matter of time till we all win. Cancel the say. It's only a matter of time till we all win. Cancel the say. It's only a matter of time till we all win. Cancel the say. Cancel me. Cancel me. Cancel me. I got things to say. You can cancel me. Cancel me. Cancel me. I got things to say. You can cancel me. Cancel me. Cancel me. I got things to say. You can cancel me.